welcome to our first technique video. The technique I want to show you today is called double embossing. It's one of my absolute favorites. Looks a little like this, gives a lovely 3D structure that you can then watercolor or color in to your heart's content. So let me show you how. The first thing you're going to need is a piece of watercolor paper and a big shot. We have some lovely embossing folders. The one I'm going to take today is called Garden Flowers. And we just place our paper in between the folder as so. Make sure everything's lovely and straight, like so. And then run it through the big shot between the two acrylic plates. Turn the handle, and that's when the magic happens. Put that aside. So when I open up this, it is really, really lovely every single time. So we've got this raised embossed image, and what I'm going to do now that it is dry embossed, we're going to wet emboss it. To do this, we're going to need a brayer and a Versamark ink pad, and ink up your brayer as juicy as you can get it. So really lots and lots of ink on there. And then we're just going to roll it gently over the raised embossing. Now it can be done sideways or up and down. I really wouldn't care, as this is my project, if the ink got on the edges a little bit. That's going to add to the effect afterwards. And then after we've inked that up very, very lightly, we're just going to cover it in a clear embossing powder and just shake that embossing powder generously over the parts that have just been inked up. We can afford to be generous because basically everything goes back into the pot when you're done. Just like that, making sure that we've got every inked up part covered. Oh, as I said, everything goes back into the pot. Like that. And then just shake off the rest. Nice and powdery. And we're ready to go with our heat tool. What we're going to do now is heat it up until the powder turns into liquid form and forms a nice glossy coating. So here we go. Make sure that the heat embossing tool is nice and hot, and then everything starts a little bit faster. Here we go, it's beginning to turn. It's getting all shiny and glossy. It really is lovely. Make sure that we've got all the bits. Keep your heat tool moving as you're doing this so that you don't end up scorching the paper. I think that's pretty much everything done. Just go up and down, just to be on the safe side. No, now I think we're really done. Now that will dry really, really quickly. You have to shake it in the air for a couple of seconds, wave it around, and then it's ready to work. So now that the raised edges are embossed, they're impervious to water or watercolor. So let's color it in. I have an aqua painter here and a selection of different ink colors, and this is a project where it can be any color you choose. So I'd recommend starting with the lightest color first and just filling out the gaps. Now it can be really nice and watery. We're using water paper, and it's really, really lovely when all the colors just sort of blend into each other, making it look really, really springy here. And as you can see, the raised edges just will not be affected because they're covered in the clear embossing powder. So we can get really, really crazy here and just blend those colors in. I'm going to change color now just by wiping off my brush on my grid paper and picking up some Primrose Petal, which is a lovely sort of pinky red color, and just bringing that in, and it really makes it look as if you're a true watercolor artist without any effort at all. So in it goes. I think I'm going to need a little bit more color here. And when you're happy with the end result, you can stop and move on to the next color, or you can just leave it partially colored. I mean, it all adds to the effect, whatever you wish. Here a little bit darker, you could carry on forever. So wipe off your brush and then move into the next color. I'm going to take green here and then just bring out the leaves. It doesn't even matter if you go over the lines. It's got to look homemade after all. So we're just going to bring in some green here. Just splash it all about a little bit. If it gets too wet, you can just pick up the rest with a tissue or something. But the watercolor paper will absorb most of it. And the brush really gets in between those little lines that you've done on the raised embossing. So there practically is the whole effect almost finished. I'm just really going to finish up by just grounding it in the sense that I'm going to take now blue and just do a wash on the background so it doesn't look so flat. And just take a nice wet brush and go around the outside. Now if you've got some embossing powder on the edges, that's actually a real good help because it'll just help make a nice soft edge. So not everything needs to be colored here in sky blue. Here we go, just in between. You can be as messy as you like. Most people call it art. I call it a delicious creative mess. It's so much fun to do. And that's it really. I think the hardest part now is trying to decide what you're going to do with the design. One of the easiest things to do is give it a little sentiment stamp, as I've done before on our card. There we go. And make a card out of it. It can equally be used as a scrapbooking background or a little text pocket. There's tons and tons of uses for a design like this. Here's a finished card. The beauty with Stampin' Up! Is that we have the coordinating cardstocks and the colours, and they all mix and match really, really nicely and coordinate extremely well. So let me show you a variation on that. Here's exactly the same technique, but on this card I've used iridescent ice embossing powder, and that's a clear embossing powder with a little bit of glitter in it, so it adds a little bit of glamour. Pastel tones, you can really go into the wedding and communion and sort of the romantic occasions, or you can jazz this up and use really bold, bright colors as well. So it's a technique that's been used for any occasion really, and it is totally fun to do. So give it a try. If you need help or any information about Stampin' Up! Or Stampin' Up's products, contact a demonstrator near you. If you don't have one, check out our website. There's the demonstrator locator, and that'll make it really easy for you to find one. So have tons of fun. See you next time. Bye.